Hi everybody, this is Martin Lee. I'm the guy on the right, by the way, David Galley on the left, and of course Irina Shemeva in the middle. This picture was taken at the Sourcing Summit conference a couple of years back. So we just want to introduce you and welcome you to the webinar. We have weekly meetings and we discussed our training, and we have a lot of people who regularly come to our webinars and partake in our training, but we just wanted to do something quick, 30 minutes or so, and just showcase a little bit of what we do. This is not a training session. We're purely here to kind of highlight a little bit about our training, give you a bit more information, and give you some of the subjects that we tackle. So time is of the essence. We're going to try and do some Q&A at the end if we have got time, but of course we'll include emails when we send the webinar out to you, so you can follow up with any questions which all three of us would be happy to answer. So, an introduction to who we are. Part of our main business is to do training. We train in-house and we train agency recruiters. There's a couple of links to our website. Sourcing certification is the training arm, and Brain Gain is our actual recruiting arm. So yes, we are hands-on sourcers. We do recruit every single day, which I think is good to know when you're looking at trainers. We offer bespoke webinars, and this is probably the reason for this webinar, is that we get a lot of requests from companies saying, please can you look at specific markets or specific challenges that we have, and of course we're happy to do those. Often we go face-to-face, but also we have a sourcing guidebook, which is kind of an annual subscription which covers all of these topics. So so you can check that out, and I'll include the link on the email when I send this recording through to you. We do create our own methods. So Irina, David, and our other partner are all ex-software people, so we have kind of a unique take on things. We do listen to the market, and we do try and create unique methods, and you will see some of these shortly. You'll be pleased to hear. And as I said, we're very hands-on. We do research, we do recruitment, we do source every day. We're particularly busy at the moment. We have experience across multiple markets, so you can hear my accent. You'll hear another couple of accents as well from David and Irina, and we have experience across multiple markets and geographies, and we're also now doing some consultancy with agencies and in-house teams on actually how to build a sourcing function. So happy to talk to you about that as well. And we like to partner with companies from start to finish, or as my American colleagues say, soup to nuts. So whether that be a complete rookie or whether that be a very experienced sourcer, we do offer all levels of training, and kind of like to guide people through the sourcing path from start to finish. So that's who we are. The agenda in 30 minutes is to try and pack it in as much as possible. I'm going to talk a little bit about LinkedIn to try and maximize your LinkedIn search results, and no matter which account you have. We have done a couple of webinars that specifically talk about LinkedIn Recruiter and LinkedIn specifically, so you can check those out. Irina will talk about finding information on Google. She's probably the best person in the world I know to do so you should enjoy that. And then David will talk about finding contact information, which, you know, the market is tough right now, and I think sourcing is one angle, but actually getting a response from candidates is just as an important an issue as well. So David will give you a quick overview on that. And we'll try and do some Q&A. We can hang out for a bit longer after this, but we'll see how that goes time-wise. So LinkedIn. I think when we look at any site, whether it be LinkedIn or Facebook or Twitter or GitHub or any of these other platforms where we go to source, we kind of take a step back before we even look at them, and we think about how do they work. You know, how does the algorithm within LinkedIn work? When we search one way, what results do we get? And if we search another way, what results do we get? So we think it's essential to know how these platforms work, and we certainly teach that. A big bearer for me is I see, I mean, I get a lot of messages on LinkedIn, I guess you guys do as well, and in other places, and I get approached about jobs, and the messages all seem the same, you know, and if everybody searches the same, and if everybody messages the same, then I guess we're going to get the same results. So I think it's important to be able to vary your searches and to look at your messaging and to get the best results that way. So search results are determined by algorithms. LinkedIn, for example, is connections to you, keywords, groups, etc. So we have to know this when we search, because it will affect the people that you see, and sometimes the people who appear on page 1 of LinkedIn are not necessarily the best candidates. They just happen to have had the most hits algorithm-wise. So our ethos is really to teach how to investigate and be inquisitive, and it's very much a give a man a fish quote, which I very much like. So here's an example of that with LinkedIn. If I look at manufacturing, if I put the word manufacturing into title, it gives me one set of results, in this case the most, 227,000. If I then put MFG, it gives me a completely different set of results, people who haven't written the word manufacturing, and again when they've abbreviated to MANUF. So it's important to know, as I say, the rules of these sites and the differences, because they will result in seeing different people. Here's an example of somebody on LinkedIn. This guy works for JP Morgan. You'll notice he's put JPM. He hasn't even written JP space Morgan. So no matter which account you have, if I search JP space Morgan on LinkedIn, I won't find Andrew. So we think it's important to be able to cross-reference and to look amongst other sites. Andrew is obviously an IT guy, and he's much happier. A site like GitHub, he gives us much more information. He's given us his email, he's given us his blog, and he's even uploaded pieces of his work, which really means I can understand Andrew much more. He's actually changed his name on here as well, but it's the same guy. So searching LinkedIn, you can search LinkedIn from LinkedIn, or you can search LinkedIn from Google. Many of you will already be doing this, but these things change all the time. So the main reason that we often search LinkedIn from Google is it allows you to look outside of your network. You're not limited to your connections or your groups. So this really does spread your searches just by doing this. So here is your search string, which you can then add keywords onto the end. This is kind of your base string, or you could actually use this as well. So there's something to have a go at if you've not done that before. X-raying has a semantic element. Now what I mean by that is that within Google we can do things that we can't do within LinkedIn. So for example, if I put the word manufacturing, it will also give me synonyms of manufacturing. So in this example, manufacturer. So this really does spread our results just by using Google. And there's many other cool tools that we can use. One of them is an asterisk, which there's no equivalent in LinkedIn whatsoever. If I use accounts asterisk assistant, I'm asking Google to fill in the blanks. I'm asking for an additional word, and you can see here that it will incorporate many other kind of job titles. So in this case I've got accounts payable assistant or accounts and payroll assistant. This was a real life example of a job when I was at Kelly, and somebody said we're trying to find people who live in the Oxford area who use SAP software and work in the finance department. Now everybody searches like this. Everybody will put a keyword of SAP, everybody will put 25-mile radius of Oxford, and they'll put in a couple of job titles. But my question to them was, what do you do after this? What is your next search? Because think about how LinkedIn is, and that people don't fill out their profiles the way that sometimes we would like them to. And so the answer to the question, and I did get some blank faces, but the answer to the question really was, let's look at Oxford University Press, because we've already learned from the previous profile that they do use SAP software. So why not your next search to look for people within this particular company? And I did control F it just to prove that there was no SAP in that actual profile. Other examples here. This is within the alumni area of LinkedIn. Really underutilized, and a lot of people don't do it. So this is Irina's string here. So it's actually quite clever if you think about it. We're saying, show me everybody with the word university, and show me everybody without the word university. So effectively what we're looking at here, and I think I did this a couple of days ago, is pretty much everybody on LinkedIn. And then within these other search fields we can search further. So what else can we do with that? There's a little hack here for you. If you look at the URL and you replace the bit after equals, and you can put any location. So for example here, Paris, and then I filter down further by where they live. I've got people who are educated in Paris who now live in Germany. So we can have a high assumption that these people will speak French and German. And one search is to look for that in keywords on LinkedIn, but of course the other search is to do it this way, by assumption. Another little tip for you, and LinkedIn takes stuff away all the time. This is why we have to keep on top of it. They've now removed the facility to be able to search for keywords within groups that you're not members of. So that's really not useful. That was a really useful feature for us before, but they removed that. So here's a little, call it a hack if you like, or a technique, but every single group has a unique number. Here is the number for Apple current and former employees. So I'll share this link with you. If you use this particular link here, you take the number and you just add the number of the group that you're interested in, whether that be a group you're in or not, and often they don't let us into groups as recruiters, and you replace that number at the end, hit return. You can now search keywords, location and skills within that particular group. I think that's a particularly useful technique for you. So that's a quick overview of LinkedIn. It's obviously the tip of the iceberg. So I will now pass you over to Irina, who will talk about Google. And I'm just going to, never done this all three of us before, so I'm now just going to give control to Irina.
Hello everyone, this is Irina Shamaeva, and I will continue the showcase. Let me show my screen. Can you see my screen now? People on the call, can you see my screen? And I'm going to talk about Google, and obviously we have so little time, so I want to just give you a flavor of what we use in our practice and teach as well. Googling custom search engines and a few words about other things. So many people compare the sources. Where can we go to search best? What is better, LinkedIn or a job board or something else? Or what is the new LinkedIn and so forth? But the reality is that no matter how hard we try to choose, the information is spread around the web. It's everywhere. And the only way to catch that information across various sites is through search engines. Google is by far the best, and any search engine scans the web, collects copies of the pages, and lets us search, and has become much smarter in the last year or so. We could be finding results, as Martin was showing you, X-raying LinkedIn, industry social sites and forums. If you're searching for IT candidates, GitHub would be a good example. Professional associations, local chapters, conference, blogs, company sites, you name it. There is huge wealth of information out there, and we can find quite a bit by searching simply, but knowing how Google operates. And this is just an example here. If we ask a general question of Google, how can I get a resume of a candidate that matches such and such jobs? That doesn't work. You cannot squeeze a long description into the search box. But if you start imagining what a person may have said on the page that you're looking for, that gives us straight way to finding the right result. And this is just a very light example of that. I had imagined that a person would be using a personal email address on the resume. I just mentioned the word resume, and up front I'm getting good results here. And if we take this further, we can be finding, if we take this approach further, we can be finding amazing results all over the web. For example, if we think about how people mask their email addresses, they write @ and dot, right? So we can be searching specifically for that. If we're searching for @google.com, we're looking for people with the email address at Google. They work at Google. Software engineers often post lists of people who contributed to some piece of code on a page called authors, and such a light search as this, which could be further narrowed down if we wanted more specific results, instantly provides us with long lists of software engineers with contact information. Further on, if we think about how do we find lists of people with contact information, try typing into Google a list with contact information that includes medical professionals and surgeons in Kansas and maybe other locations. What you'll get as a result will be some ads that wouldn't give you the information you want. But if you imagine exactly what, well, not exactly, if you imagine what you would see in front of your eyes when you see a list and start being very specific about that. In this search, I have used 2 free email extensions and a couple keywords pointing to the professionals, and the results are amazing. I'm getting long lists of professionals with their private email addresses, cell numbers, and so forth. I can vary the search to get much more, and then I can digest all of this information using the tools that we also teach people in our webinars and use ourselves. Another example of this, here I have used several email extensions of pharma companies. You can see here, I didn't even say pharma. I just listed several extensions, and it magically lands on lists of people from this profession, including some of these keywords that I can turn around and continue collecting information on. So these searches puzzle people at first, but then if you learn to search imagining what you might find on a page, that changes the whole game. So I often search like that. Of course, there are also more complex searches that I can talk about. Another way to do that would be, for example, to use first names. If there are several personal names, we are finding lists. If you see the previews we're getting out of these searches, these are some of my fun, favorite ways to find lists of professionals that I further cross-reference. I imagine the majority of you have heard about X-raying, which is narrowing Google search to a specific site. If you haven't, this would probably be the first technique to learn if you want to dive into more complex searching. There is the operator site that is used in advanced searching, but you can also just name the site. Then you can think of phrases present on every profile, which depends on the site, and then you add your keywords. And this diagram that I presented here with 5 examples from some obscure vertical niche sites, it works across everything. You will be finding information by X-raying where it's possible to find using this approach, and this is a methodology. Naming the site, you're finding phrases that are on every profile, adding keywords, and get great results. I will not bother you reading through these long strings, but many of you know that there are advanced operators. In addition to the operator site, there are operators in title, file type, and so forth. And if we use more complex syntax, which we do teach, you will be finding information that's deeply buried on the web. This is another example of creative sourcing. This is search in the images. I'm using the same keyword search resume and some additional keywords here, including imagining that a person has a Gmail, and I'm seeing previews of real resumes. This is productive approach in some areas and some industries to also find resumes, and it's absolutely fun. Another thing that we work with is custom search engines. It's one of my favorite techniques, and for people who are not that technical, it provides custom experience searching within Google. Custom search engines are on top of Google and allow to tweak all the search experience to present very targeted results. Here is one of the search, custom searches I have created that provides, if you put an email extension, it provides you with a lot of results with real email addresses where you can figure out the pattern, and maybe even will find the email you're looking for. So we have a long collection of custom search engines that you can find on our teaching site, and I'm actually giving a webinar shortly, which is part of what we teach on the sourcing custom search engines, if that is of interest to you and you want to try and create your own. Of course, we also talk about other search engines. That this is just a quick diagram from one of our webinars. Using a variety of search tools and engines, you are able to find different results and results that others won't find. So with that, we're moving on to David. David?
Hello, folks. Just getting my slides pulled up. Hopefully, those are going to be visible to everyone now. Yes? All right. Certainly hope so. All right. My name is David Galley. Thank you, Martin, for the previous introduction. So my piece on this presentation, great. People can see my slides. Wonderful. Is a real quick set of notes on how to contact pretty much anyone. I actually run a workshop on this topic every month, but it's a favorite topic of mine. We could go on about it for hours. Unfortunately, I have about 5 minutes, so we'll see what we can do. Best method to contact anyone is to start with the simplest, fastest methods you can, and you know, go a little deeper if you have to, but try to keep it light, keep moving. Obviously, we want to be agile and fast in what we do. So I said start simple, and I really mean it. You know, here's somebody on LinkedIn, third-degree connection. I could burn an email to contact William, but maybe I could find his email, his phone number with a couple of quick Google searches. So here's a search with just his name, something about a drug dealer, not that interesting. Try to adding a couple of keywords from his profile. Sadly, while I found his profile, I didn't find anything else that's that interesting, but then I added one more piece of information that I had here, which is the area code for Anaheim, California. I don't know his area code, but I know what it is for where he lives, so I can just guess and say something like this. And as you can see, there's his resume. I have an email, I have a phone number, and actually everything else I would ever want. So simple, light searches is the way to go when we start off looking for contact info. You just build a little bit. If I had to go past this, I would move on to another technique, right? Like this one. So for an example, if you were trying to search for the email address for the global procurement director at this company, we could look for an email pattern for that company. We often see that emails at companies have the same format, right? First name dot last name. And in this case, we can easily plug the name into the pattern and come up with the email for a fairly senior member of their staff. Of course, if we have an email that we've guessed, we don't necessarily want to send a blind email to this person, so we want to try to verify that. Somebody asked how I found the area code number 714. We're going to answer a couple questions at the end, so remind me to come back to that one. We can verify tons of different tools. We can verify, I'm just demoing a couple here. Here's one that gives us even more, one that just tells us if the email works, and here's one that tells us not only that the email works, but in fact that it's definitely tied to the same profile we were just looking at. So now we know for sure we've got the right address and that it's active. Always want to verify anything when we make a guess. Of course, there are a lot of tools that can help us come up with these email patterns or find other contact information about professionals. There are lookup sites, there are cross-referencing tools, there are pattern guessing tools, all kinds of different things. We teach all of these tools in our sessions, depending on which one you attend. We have a tool session, we have a contact info session, you know, so we try to fit the tools to the task, and we teach the relevant ones. But we do have a completely tool-heavy webinar rather that does nothing but and covers pretty much everything you'd ever want to use. So in addition to knowing the basic techniques, we can apply tools to move faster and to do more at one time. And a lot of people forget this one, but it's one of my favorites actually, and I use this a lot nowadays. Right, we have all these social media sites. We have Facebook, 1.5 billion people, hundreds of millions on Google Plus and Twitter, and many, many more on many other sites. And we also have many niche sites, you know, forums and discussion boards, only a few hundred or a few thousand members, but all tightly targeted and in our industries. And all of these sites have one thing in common, and that's the fact that they're social. So there's a way to get in touch with the members. You can message anybody on Facebook. You can tweet at anyone on Twitter. You can use Google Hangouts to contact people on Google+, or actually just about anybody with a Gmail address, which is not just hundreds of millions, but possibly billions of people as well. So again, don't forget our social piece of social media. If you don't have a phone number, if you don't have an email, message them. I know people get stuck on phone numbers. All the time people are like, I can't email, I can't message, I have to call. I'm sorry, but that's not true anymore. So don't get stuck. Use what you have. One of these methods will get you in touch with just about anybody. So with that, my little piece is done in this presentation, and I'm going to hand this back over to Martin to wrap, and I think we have some time at the end for a little Q&A too. So, oh, I'm sorry, I had 2 more slides. I so apologize. Yeah, let me just real quick. The same principles that apply for finding the contact information of one person also work for finding the contact information of more than one person. And just a quick example of doing that, we can find the entire contact list for a company using methods like this. I used one of a couple of Irina's special operators she talked about. I tried to find sites just in the UK, sites that have staff or team in the page title, that deal with accountants, and then I use this term vCard. vCard is a type of file you download and import into Outlook to get somebody's contact in your list. So I just searched for that. If I search for telephone, or if I search for email, I might get the company address. I might get the main line. In this case, I want people. And nobody does vCards for companies, they do them for people. So again, using Irina's techniques to find an entire list of people. So with that, Martin, you're up. Sorry about that.
Thanks, David. That's okay. Time flies, doesn't it? Look at that, 27 minutes past. But I just wanted to summarize and let you know what we can do here. This is going to be our contact details. We will send this webinar to everybody. But we'll try and do some questions at the end. So in essence, what we can do, we can train you how to do it, or we can do it for you. So we do online webinars, we do face-to-face, we do a structured course, the guidebook, I'll send you a link to that. And we do exams as well. People like exams, and we do a certificate, so we can really test people and make sure that they really understand what we teach. But we also do regular recruitment as well, research work, and we tend to like anything interesting as well. So get in touch, and if you have anything interesting, the more challenging, the better, I guess. So that's it. I will summarize. I will put all of this in a recording too, and I will send that to you by tomorrow as well. So. Thanks very much for attending. I'm going to probably open the floor for some of these questions that we have here as well. David, you had a question or two, and Irina, I think there's a couple of Google questions. So I will officially stop the recording now, but we're here to hang out and